Have you ever noticed that the rudest people in the room are rarely the strongest? They are usually the most fragile. The loudest mockery often comes from the weakest center. The sharpest disrespect usually hides the deepest insecurity. And in a society built on performance, some people do not talk to connect with you. They talk to provoke you, measure you, and see whether you are soft enough to control. That is the real game. Not conversation. Not honesty. Not confidence. Control. And if you do not understand that, you will keep walking into rooms thinking people are simply being mean, when in reality many of them are doing something much darker. They are testing whether your peace can be bought with pressure. They are checking whether your identity collapses under tension. They are looking for one thing: proof that you can be emotionally moved by someone beneath your standards. In this video, I want to show you how to deal with rude people without shouting, without spiraling, and without turning into the kind of person you secretly despise. We are going to walk through 7 responses, calm, precise, and devastating in the quietest way, that can stop rude people in their tracks. But more importantly, we are going to talk about the hidden structure underneath disrespect itself, why fake confidence is so common, why cruelty has become social currency, and why silence, when used correctly, can expose more than anger ever will. And stay with me, because near the end I am going to share one truth most people never realize until far too late: sometimes the person trying hardest to humiliate you is not attacking your weakness at all. They are reacting to a kind of strength they cannot imitate. This matters because modern life rewards performance. It rewards image, speed, certainty, sarcasm, reaction, spectacle. People interrupt each other and call it confidence. They humiliate people publicly and call it honesty. They dominate conversations and call it leadership. They make contempt look stylish. They make cruelty look intelligent. And after enough exposure, even decent people start confusing aggression with power. But power has never been loud. Real power does not rush to prove itself. Real power does not tremble with the need to be seen. Real power does not beg for relevance through humiliation. That is where Stoic discipline becomes so useful, especially now. Not as a costume. Not as a quote. Not as some detached performance of superiority. But as a way of staying rooted when the world around you keeps rewarding emotional chaos. So here is what to expect. First, I am going to show you 7 responses that work not because they are theatrical, but because they expose what rude people are actually doing beneath the surface. Second, I am going to weave each one into real modern situations, workplaces, social circles, group chats, subtle status games, passive-aggressive interactions, because this is where most people lose their balance. And third, I want to leave you with something deeper than a comeback. I want to leave you with a different relationship to disrespect itself. Because once you see it clearly, the whole social theater starts to look different. You stop seeing rude people as powerful. You start seeing them as predictable. And once someone becomes predictable, they lose their mystery. Once they lose their mystery, they lose their power over you. Let's begin. 1. I'm not the one. Try someone who tolerates nonsense. There is a moment many people know too well. Someone crosses a line. Maybe they interrupt you in front of others. Maybe they throw in a slick little comment coated in sarcasm. Maybe they try to embarrass you just enough to make you look weak if you react, but look passive if you stay silent. And for a second, something tightens in your chest. Your mind races. Your body feels the insult before your words arrive. That moment matters more than most people realize. Because rude people are not always looking for conflict. Often, they are looking for permission. Permission to keep going. Permission to define the tone. Permission to decide your place in the room. I learned that the hard way. There was a season in my life when I confused peace with tolerance. I thought staying composed meant absorbing things I should have challenged. I thought maturity meant letting little comments slide. I thought if I stayed agreeable enough, eventually disrespectful people would feel embarrassed by their own behavior. They did not. They got bolder. That is the part people do not tell you. What you tolerate teaches people how to approach you. Silence can be dignified, yes. But in the wrong moment, it can also be read as availability. And some people are always scanning for emotional availability, not for intimacy, but for exploitation. Years ago, I worked with someone like that. Let's call him Brad. Brad was the kind of man society confuses with leadership. Always late, always loud, always performing certainty at a volume just high enough to make insecure people assume he knew what he was doing. He interrupted people constantly. He hid contempt behind humor. He liked to test others in public because it gave him the illusion of control. One day I was presenting something I had spent weeks building. Not casual work. Real work. Thoughtful work. Strategy, refinement, revisions, late nights, that strange quiet pressure that comes when you know you are building something that actually matters. Halfway through the presentation, Brad leaned back, gave that familiar half-smirk, and said, "Do you even understand what you're talking about? This sounds like a lot of fluff." The room shifted. You could feel it. Not because everyone agreed with him, but because everyone recognized the move. It was not curiosity. It was not critique. It was a status test disguised as feedback. And for 1 second, I felt the old version of myself starting to rise. The version that would explain too much. The version that would try to sound reasonable to an unreasonable person. The version that still wanted to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding. But something in me was tired. Tired in a clean way. The kind of tiredness that becomes clarity. So I looked at him calmly and said, "I'm not the one. Try someone who tolerates nonsense." I don't. That was it. No speech. No anger. No performance. Just a line drawn with full awareness. And the reason that line works is simple. It refuses the frame. Rude people thrive by forcing you into one of two bad roles: either you become passive and let them keep going, or you become emotional and give them a show. This response chooses neither. It tells them you understand what they are doing, and it tells them the old strategy will not work here. That is why it lands so hard. Because beneath most rude behavior is an assumption that you want approval badly enough to endure disrespect. When you remove that assumption, the whole interaction changes. And this is not just about work. You see this in families. In friend groups. In relationships. In those strange social environments where one person keeps making cutting little jokes and everyone else keeps pretending that is just their personality. No. Sometimes what people call personality is simply unchallenged disrespect. And when someone finally names it, the room often goes quiet, not because the truth is unclear, but because everyone felt it before anyone said it. There is a deeply Machiavellian truth hidden here too. People in shallow social systems often respect resistance more than kindness. Not because resistance is morally superior, but because it interrupts the illusion that you can be casually used. In a fake society, softness is often exploited until it acquires structure. The moment your kindness grows a spine, people start recalculating. That is what this line does. It forces recalculation. It says, you mistook restraint for permission. You mistook composure for weakness. You mistook my silence for surrender. And now you know better. So the next time someone throws shade, talks over you, or tests you with that polished little contempt people like to pass off as confidence, do not scramble. Do not explain. Do not become noisy just because they are. Meet them with calm. Meet them with posture. And if the moment calls for it, say, I'm not the one. Try someone who tolerates nonsense. Because your peace is not a public resource. 2. I'm not offended. I just don't value your opinion enough. One of the biggest traps in modern life is the belief that every opinion deserves emotional space. It does not. And yet that is exactly what fake culture teaches you. It teaches you to react to every comment, defend yourself against every judgment, answer every misunderstanding, carry every projection like it deserves your inner attention. That is exhausting. And more importantly, it quietly places your self-worth in the hands of people who have done nothing to earn influence over your mind. I remember a particular season when I had started sharing more of my work publicly. Ideas I believed in. Thoughts I had spent time refining. Not because I wanted noise, but because I had reached a point in life where staying silent felt more dishonest than being seen. And the moment you become visible, something predictable happens. People who have built nothing start reviewing what you built. People who risk nothing start mocking the risk. People with no discipline suddenly become experts in your flaws. There was a man I used to know, one of those socially slick people who never speak directly. Everything is implied. Everything is delivered with plausible deniability. He saw something I posted, something I was genuinely proud of, and left a comment that said, "This feels kind of cringe. Are you sure this is the impression you want to give?" Now if you have ever dealt with people like that, you know what they are hoping for. They want you to explain yourself. They want you to defend your taste, your motives, your right to exist without their endorsement. They want to pull you down into their frame, where you are the insecure one seeking clearance. But by then I had started understanding something important. Not every opinion is heavy. Some opinions are weightless because the person offering them has no inner authority. So I responded, "I'm not offended. I just don't value your opinion enough." Cold. Maybe. But also honest. And honesty, when clean, can be kinder than prolonged self-betrayal. This line works because it breaks one of the biggest illusions insecure people live on, the illusion that being heard is the same thing as mattering. It is not. Just because someone speaks does not mean they have insight. Just because someone disapproves of you does not mean you need correction. Just because someone has access to your content, your presence, your time, or your body language does not mean they have earned access to your internal world. That distinction will save you years. Because here is what many rude people understand instinctively: if they can make you emotionally account for yourself, they can control the rhythm of the interaction. Suddenly you are not living from center anymore. You are reacting. And reaction is where manipulation begins. That is why dismissive calm is so powerful. You are not escalating. You are not attacking. You are simply removing value from a source that wanted to matter. And yes, there is a deeper social truth here. Some of the loudest critics you will ever meet are not responding to your flaws. They are responding to your movement. Your initiative reminds them of their stagnation. Your confidence irritates them because it highlights the permission they never gave themselves. Your visibility exposes their passivity. So they judge. Not because your path is wrong, but because your path forces them to confront their own hesitation. This is why a Stoic approach matters so much. Stoicism is not pretending insults do not exist. It is learning not to grant cheap voices expensive access. It is the discipline of deciding which forces are worthy of entry into your mind. And when you live that way, your emotional life changes. You stop being tossed around by commentary. You stop shrinking every time someone with no vision says you should. You stop negotiating with people whose opinions are really just insecurity wearing language. So if someone throws shade, judges your direction, mocks your work, or tries to chip away at your confidence, you do not need a long defense. You do not need a paragraph. Sometimes all you need is the truth delivered without heat. I'm not offended. I just don't value your opinion enough. Because inner peace does not come from making everyone approve of you. It comes from finally deciding whose voice never counted. 3. That's a weird way to beg for attention. There are insults, and then there are performances. A lot of rude behavior is not really about you at all. It is theater. A person enters a room already hungry. Hungry to be noticed. Hungry to feel bigger. hungry to create a reaction strong enough to reassure themselves that they still exist in the minds of others. In a healthy culture, that hunger might be transformed into discipline, craft, humor, presence, contribution. But in a fake culture, it often becomes provocation. That is why some people constantly aim downward. They make jokes at other people's expense. They drop little humiliations into normal conversation. They test for laughs, side glances, discomfort, anything that confirms they still have social gravity. And once you see that, one line becomes almost surgical. That's a weird way to beg for attention. I used that line once at a gathering that still stays with me. It was one of those social nights that are supposed to be easy. Nothing dramatic. Just people talking, catching up, pretending they are more relaxed than they really are. And there was a man there, I'll call him Eddie, who had turned subtle cruelty into a personality. Every conversation needed a target. Every silence made him uncomfortable. Every smile had to be turned into a contest. At first, he was taking little shots at other people. Their clothes. Their decisions. Their relationships. The kind of low-grade disrespect people tolerate because calling it out feels like making it a thing. That is how these dynamics survive. Everybody sees it. Nobody names it. Eventually he turned toward me and said, "Still doing that little project of yours? Must be nice having so much free time." Now notice what is hidden in a sentence like that. It is not just dismissal. It is envy disguised as mockery. It is curiosity dressed up as contempt. It is the desire to diminish what he does not have the discipline to build. So instead of defending myself, I smiled and said, "That's a weird way to beg for attention. Do you want a hug or something?" The table went still. Not because it was cruel. Because it was accurate. That is the power of naming motive. Most people argue with the content of the insult. But the content is often irrelevant. The real force is in the motive underneath it. When you expose the motive, the insult collapses. This line works because rude people often depend on ambiguity. They want to appear clever, not needy. Sharp, not insecure. Entertaining, not desperate. They need the room to misread them. The second you translate their behavior correctly, the costume falls apart. And that is terrifying for them. Because attention seekers can survive criticism. What they cannot survive is being seen clearly. This is one of the strangest social truths of our time. Attention has become a substitute for identity. People would rather be noisy than insignificant. They would rather be controversial than invisible. They would rather injure connection than risk being forgettable. That is why so much modern rudeness feels strangely performative. It is not spontaneous. It is strategic. It is emotional bait cast into a room full of bored, under-examined people. And if you bite, the performance succeeds. If you decode it, the performer shrinks. There is also a more intimate lesson here. Sometimes the people who belittle you are not trying to destroy you. They are trying to rescue themselves from feeling small in your presence. They do not know how to stand taller, so they try to make you smaller. Once you understand that, you stop taking everything personally. Not because you become numb. Because you become perceptive. So when someone makes a cheap joke, drops a snide comment, or tries to turn disrespect into entertainment, you do not have to give them outrage. Sometimes clarity is much more brutal. That's a weird way to beg for attention. Say it calmly. Say it like you have already seen the end of the act. Because in a culture addicted to performance, calm perception is a form of power most people never develop. For every time you speak, it's a reminder to value silence. Some people are not rude because they are cruel. Some are rude because they are empty and terrified of being found out. So they keep talking. Talking to dominate. Talking to cover the cracks. Talking to create the illusion of substance. And over time, you start to realize something uncomfortable: not every voice carries value. Some voices are just noise with self-esteem. This line is for those moments. Every time you speak, it's a reminder to value silence. It sounds elegant, but what makes it powerful is that it targets a deeper wound. It tells the person that their words are not creating impact. They are creating contrast. Their presence is not enriching the room. It is teaching everyone what peace feels like by comparison. I once found myself in a long-running group conversation with someone exactly like this. You probably know the type. He had something to say about everything. Finance, relationships, politics, psychology, success, failure, purpose, discipline. Every subject passed through his mouth as if confidence alone could substitute for understanding. But if you listened carefully, it was always the same thing. Borrowed language, half-understood ideas, shallow certainty, theatrical dominance. He did not speak to contribute. He spoke to occupy space. One evening, he interrupted someone in the middle of an actually thoughtful conversation and began correcting them on a topic he very clearly did not understand. Not lightly. Not tentatively. With that inflated confidence insecure people borrow from podcasts and slogans. I paused, listened for a moment, and then said, "You know, every time you speak, it's a reminder to value silence." The room went quiet. And what struck me afterward was not that he felt embarrassed. It was that everyone else looked relieved. Relief is one of the most revealing social signals there is. When a truthful sentence creates relief in a room, it usually means many people felt something they did not know how to say. That is why this line works. It does not merely insult the person. It reframes their entire social effect. And that hits hard. Because most loud people believe volume creates authority. It does not. Sometimes volume only exposes the absence of depth. There is an old truth hidden in this: empty barrels make the most noise. Still true. Maybe truer now than ever. We live in a world where certainty is easier to market than wisdom. Where people rehearse opinions before they develop character. Where sounding strong has replaced becoming strong. And that distortion leaks into everyday life. Work meetings. Family discussions. Online debates. Friend groups. Suddenly the least reflective person in the room is often the most verbally aggressive, and everyone else starts mistaking that aggression for confidence. But silence has a kind of nobility noise can never imitate. Silence can observe. Silence can withhold. Silence can measure. Silence can refuse the cheap race for social oxygen. That is why truly grounded people are often slower with their words. Not because they are weak. Because they know words lose value when used to compensate. There is something almost surreal about modern social life when you begin to see it clearly. Entire rooms can be controlled by the least centered person simply because everyone else is too polite, too tired, or too unsure to interrupt the theater. One restless ego can bend the emotional climate of a group if nobody knows how to stand still. This line stands still. It does not chase. It does not fight for room. It simply names the contrast between sound and substance. And that contrast is devastating. Because the person hears what they fear most, that their words are not commanding respect. They are teaching people the value of restraint. So if you find yourself facing someone who dominates conversations, fills silence with recycled certainty, or confuses constant talking with intelligence, you do not need to compete. You do not need to out-talk them. You do not need to wrestle noise on its own level. You can simply look at them and say, every time you speak, it's a reminder to value silence. Then let the quiet after it do the rest. Because one of the great advantages in life is learning that not speaking is sometimes the most articulate thing you can do. 5. If you're trying to hurt my feelings, you'll have to try harder. There is a kind of freedom that only comes after pain has already introduced itself to you. Before that, insults can feel enormous. A comment can ruin your day. A mocking tone can stay in your body for hours. A stranger's disrespect can open old wounds you thought were gone. But after life has hit you with enough reality, betrayal, failure, rejection, humiliation, grief, disappointment, you begin to notice something strange. Certain people lose their power to hurt you. Not because you stop feeling. Because you finally understand scale. A rude comment is not the same as real loss. A cheap insult is not the same as heartbreak. A stranger's disrespect is not the same as surviving what almost broke you. That perspective changes everything. I remember when criticism used to stay with me. Someone once laughed at the way I dressed, and I carried it home with me like evidence. Another person mocked a goal I cared deeply about, and I let that sentence sit in my mind for weeks, poisoning my own momentum. That is how insecurity works. It takes outside noise and turns it into inner sabotage. But life, if you live long enough with your eyes open, starts teaching harder lessons than rude people ever can. You lose things. You misjudge people. You trust the wrong person. You watch doors close. You embarrass yourself. You build again. You fail in public. You heal in private. And slowly, without fanfare, your emotional skin changes. Not into indifference. Into resilience. So now, when someone tries to land a blow with a nasty tone, a passive-aggressive jab, or one of those calculated comments meant to poke at your insecurity, there are moments when the most honest thing you can say is, "If you're trying to hurt my feelings, you'll have to try harder." This line is powerful because it reveals history. It tells the other person, you are not dealing with the version of me that could be shaken by this. It tells them, life trained me harder than you ever could. It tells them, your little performance of cruelty is arriving late. And in that sense, it is more than a comeback. It is a summary of survival. There is also a quiet psychological truth embedded here. Many rude people want to feel powerful by proving they can alter your emotional state. If they can make you flinch, they feel significant. If they can make you react, they feel in control. If they can make you doubt yourself, they feel elevated. That is why composure is so disruptive. Composure denies them evidence. They came looking for injury. You offered perspective. They came expecting access. You gave them distance. And there is something else worth saying, especially for adults who have carried a lot quietly. Emotional strength does not mean you are never hurt. It means you become more deliberate about what gets to stay inside you. That is a much more honest kind of strength. Not invulnerability. Discernment. You can still feel the sting of disrespect and choose not to build a home for it. You can still hear the insult and decline the invitation to become smaller. You can still be human without becoming available to every petty attack. That is Stoic power in real life. Not pretending pain is impossible, but refusing to let every crude person define your emotional climate. So the next time someone aims low and expects you to crumble, you do not need to overperform confidence. You do not need to act unbreakable. You can simply speak from earned perspective. If you're trying to hurt my feelings, you'll have to try harder. Because some strength only becomes visible after the world has already tested it. 6. You're not on the level to get a reaction from me. This one stings for a different reason. It is not dramatic. It is not noisy. It does not insult the other person with obvious aggression. It dismisses. And dismissal is often far more painful than conflict. Why? Because many rude people are not just chasing emotion. They are chasing significance. They want to believe they can enter your inner world whenever they choose. They want proof that they can interrupt your balance, move your mood, bend your attention. In other words, they want status. That is why this line lands so hard. You're not on the level to get a reaction from me. It denies status. It says the gate is closed. It says you did not qualify. I used a version of this once in a workplace situation that taught me a lot about social hierarchy. There was a man in the office who operated almost entirely through passive aggression. He liked using humor as camouflage. He would wait for public moments, meetings, group discussions, collaborative reviews, then slip in a comment designed to embarrass someone without appearing openly hostile. People like that rely on social confusion. If you react strongly, you look unstable. If you say nothing, they assume victory. He made a remark during a presentation of mine, something like, "Interesting idea for someone who barely shows up on time." It was false, of course, but accuracy was never the point. The point was contamination. He wanted to stay in the moment just enough to reposition himself as dominant. I looked at him and said, "You're not on the level to get a reaction from me." Then I continued the presentation. No debate. No side quest. No emotional detour. Just containment. And the room changed. Not because he was destroyed in some theatrical sense. Because the frame changed. Everyone watching understood, even if only intuitively, that he had reached for a level of influence he did not possess. That is the hidden brilliance of this response. It does not tell the person they are wrong. It tells them they are irrelevant to the standard they are trying to enter. And for ego-driven people, irrelevance is a wound. This is something Machiavelli understood in different language: power is inseparable from perceived rank. A great deal of social behavior is not about truth or morality at all. It is about position. People constantly test where they stand with one another, who can interrupt who can joke at whose expense, who must explain, who can remain composed, who gets pulled out of center first. Once you understand that, you stop responding to every rude moment like a random accident. Many of them are probes. And probes require structure, not emotional leakage. This does not mean you live in paranoia. It means you become literate in social reality. You start noticing that disrespect is often a way of negotiating hierarchy without saying so openly. That is why some people become offended the moment you stop engaging them on their terms. You are not merely disagreeing. You are rejecting the level at which they were trying to place you. So when you say, "You're not on the level to get a reaction from me," you are doing more than withholding emotion. You are assigning rank. Quietly. Without begging the room to agree. And the best part is what comes next. Nothing. Because that is the rule with a line like this: do not explain it. Do not repeat it. Do not decorate it with anger. Let the silence after it become the verdict. That silence says, "I have standards. You did not meet them. We move on." Most people never develop this kind of emotional governance. They still think strength means having the better argument. Often it does not. Sometimes strength means refusing to enter a low-quality exchange at all. So if someone is clearly provoking you, trying to hook your emotions, fishing for disruption, or attempting to elevate themselves by lowering the tone, remember this. Not everyone deserves a reaction. Some people deserve distance. And if the moment is right, you can let them know exactly that. You're not on the level to get a reaction from me. 7. That was a lot of effort just to sound insecure. This may be the cleanest mirror of them all. Because beneath a surprising amount of rude behavior is one thing people spend their whole lives trying to hide. Insecurity. Not the tender kind. Not the honest kind that admits uncertainty and grows through it. I mean the armored kind. The kind that dresses itself up as arrogance, sarcasm, superiority, intellectual snobbery, passive aggression, fake detachment. The kind that would rather injure someone than be seen trembling. This line reaches straight for that hidden center. That was a lot of effort just to sound insecure. I remember hearing a remark once after finishing a presentation I had worked incredibly hard on. A colleague looked at me with that polished corporate smile people use when they want to be cruel without facing consequences and said, "I guess confidence can make anything sound smart." Now that sentence is interesting. On the surface, it sounds witty. But underneath it is something else entirely. Resentment. Envy. A need to diminish what another person carried with ease. So I smiled and said, that was a lot of effort just to sound insecure. And there it was again. Silence. Real silence. The kind that happens when a room realizes the interaction has been translated correctly. This line works for 3 reasons. First, it flips the spotlight. Suddenly the focus is no longer on whatever they were attacking. The focus moves to the hidden emotional engine behind their behavior. Second, it exposes intention without requiring you to become emotional. You are not pleading innocence. You are not defending yourself. You are diagnosing the energy. Third, it creates social contrast. They look effortful. You look clear. And clarity often wins more respect than force. What makes rude people dangerous is not that they are strong. It is that many people still take them literally. They assume the comment is about the surface issue, your clothes, your work, your voice, your ambition, your confidence. But surface content is often camouflage. The real message is usually much simpler. I feel threatened by something in you. That is why so many insults feel strangely disproportionate. The reaction they have toward you is larger than the visible situation because they are not really reacting to what just happened. They are reacting to what your presence awakens in them. Maybe your discipline confronts their excuses. Maybe your calm confronts their chaos. Maybe your courage confronts their delay. Maybe your self-respect confronts the parts of them still begging for approval. Once you understand that, rude behavior becomes less mysterious. Not harmless. Not acceptable. But understandable in a way that gives you leverage. And leverage matters. Because when you know what someone is trying to hide, you stop dancing around the performance. You stop arguing with the mask. You address the fear beneath it. That is exactly what this line does. It says, I see the machinery. I see the compensation. I see how much strain it took for you to produce that little attack. And suddenly they are the one exposed. There is a broader lesson here too. A fake society trains people to perfect impression over substance. People learn how to sound powerful before they become stable. They learn how to look confident before they develop character. They learn how to criticize before they have built anything worth protecting. So much of social life becomes a hall of mirrors, images reflecting images, personas performing for personas, insecurity borrowing style from dominance. But truth still has a way of cutting through all of it. Especially when spoken without desperation. So if someone takes a cheap shot, disguises contempt as humor, or uses polished language to smuggle insecurity into the room, you do not need to raise your voice. You do not need a dramatic monologue. Sometimes the sharpest thing you can offer is a sentence that reveals the effort beneath the mask. That was a lot of effort just to sound insecure. Say it once. Let it breathe. Then move on. Because the real burn is not the sentence itself. It is the moment they realize other people saw it too. At first glance, these may sound like clever comebacks. And yes, they are useful. But if that is all you take from this, you will miss the deeper lesson. This is not really about winning verbal exchanges. It is about reclaiming authorship over your inner state. We talked about 7 responses. I'm not the one. Try someone who tolerates nonsense. I'm not offended. I just don't value your opinion enough. That's a weird way to beg for attention. Every time you speak, it's a reminder to value silence. If you're trying to hurt my feelings, you'll have to try harder. You're not on the level to get a reaction from me. That was a lot of effort just to sound insecure. But underneath every one of them is the same principle. Do not surrender your center to people who have not earned access to it. That is the real Stoic discipline. Not being emotionless. Not becoming cold for the sake of image. Not turning life into one long superiority performance. But learning how to stay rooted when confronted by vanity, cruelty, projection, noise, and social manipulation. We live in a time where many people are rewarded for performance over substance. Where status games hide inside ordinary conversations. Where disrespect is often normalized as humor, honesty, or strong personality. And if you are not careful, you start adapting to that distortion. You begin to think the loudest person is the strongest. The cruelest person is the smartest. The most provocative person is the most confident. They are not. Very often, they are simply the least governed. And the more governed you become, the more visible that becomes. That was the truth I told you to stay for. Sometimes the person trying hardest to humiliate you is not attacking your weakness at all. They are reacting to your strength. Not necessarily because they admire it. Sometimes because they cannot imitate it. Your restraint unsettles them. Your self-respect unsettles them. Your refusal to perform emotional chaos unsettles them. Your willingness to stay calm in a world addicted to reaction unsettles them. That is why the mature response to disrespect is not always softness, and it is not always aggression. Sometimes it is precision. Sometimes it is naming what is happening more clearly than the other person expected. Sometimes it is one sentence that reminds them your piece is not available for public experimentation. And if you remember nothing else, remember this. You do not need to win every argument. You do not need to explain yourself to every fool. You do not need to correct every distortion. You do not need to carry every opinion. You do not need to let rude people turn your nervous system into their playground. You are allowed to protect your peace without apologizing for it. You are allowed to remain calm without becoming passive. You are allowed to see through people without hating them. You are allowed to walk away from noise without proving anything. That is not weakness. That is command. If this spoke to something real in you, if you have been navigating difficult people, hidden disrespect, passive-aggressive environments, or the exhausting pressure to stay composed in a fake world, then I hope this gave you more than lines. I hope it gave you language for what you already felt. If it did, let me know by liking the video. Subscribe if you want more reflections like this on Stoicism, human behavior, quiet strength, and psychological clarity in modern life. And I want to ask you something specific. Which of these lines hit you the hardest, and what kind of person would you use it on? A rude coworker? A passive-aggressive relative? A fake friend? Someone online who hides insecurity behind sarcasm? Tell me in the comments. Because the conversation gets more powerful when people stop pretending they have never dealt with this. And if you stayed all the way to the end, here is the final thought. The world is full of people trying to feel powerful by disturbing other people's peace. Do not become one of them. Become the person who can look chaos in the face, understand exactly what it is, and still remain difficult to move. That kind of calm is rare. And rare things are always noticed.